that once you're baptized, you remain Catholic forever? Nothing, I mean absolutely nothing, not even marriage, should change that. Hi Saints, welcome to another knowledge gaining episode of Catholic Faith Forum. I am Bivan Tessie. On today's episode, we would be talking about a very important topic which a lot of Catholics do not ask themselves, but is very important. This question is, should I marry a non-Catholic? Please stay tuned while we go on this short break. And when we come back, we would be having our guests join in to help us answer our questions. Welcome back, Saints. Joining me in the studio today is Father Raymond Anoliefo. Father Raymond Anoliefo is from the Catholic Archdiocese of Lagos. He is the Director, Justice, Development and Peace Center, JDPC Lagos. He is also the parish priest of Queen of the Most Holy Rosary, Surulere. Thank you very much, Father, for joining me.
Thank you.
Okay, so let's get right into it. What is the sacrament of marriage?
The sacrament of marriage is the covenantal relationship between a man and a woman in a union of love, established for the good of the spouses and, of course, for the procreation of offspring.
Wow, that's interesting. That's a very lovely definition there. So, what is the Catholic teaching on marriage?
Well, it's a very broad question. The Catholic teaching on marriage
you could just, in summary, give us a summary of it.
Suggests or presupposes that marriage is between two adults of marriageable age, and they are bound together in love, in an indissoluble union, and it is for life, till death do them part. Part of the understanding of the Catholic teaching of marriage is the fact that the couples give themselves freely to each other. So consent is fundamental to the teaching of the Catholic Church on marriage.
That's interesting. Father, is it a sin for a Catholic to get married to a non-Catholic?
Well, by way of sin would suggest the transgression against God. So from that definition of transgression against God, then it is not a sin for a Catholic to desire to get married to a non-Catholic, or even to go further to get married to a non-Catholic. It is not a sin.
Okay.
Yes.
So since it's not a sin, it means that a Catholic can get married to a non-Catholic. But what are the procedures to be taken for a Catholic to get married to a non-Catholic? Okay.
Now, it's a very interesting area. A very touching one, because of the nature of the world. We're in a global village, so people interact. And you may not be able to predict who you meet, who you fall in love with, who you share, who you are compatible with. So if a Catholic is compatible with a non-Catholic and they decide to take their relationship to the next level, very simple. They need to follow what we call the canonical form of marriage. And this canonical form suggests that they have to be married in the church, in the presence of the church's witnesses. And before that is done, they would need a dispensation from the local ordinary for that marriage to be considered valid. So basically, aside all the other proper requirements for marriage, pre-marriage course, and all the various levels and stages of interview that they need to go. But because it's a mixed marriage or a disparity of cult marriage, then they would need to have a dispensation for that marriage to go on. Knowing that there are three classes or categories of marriage in the Catholic Church. You have the Catholic marriage, the marriage between a Catholic and a Catholic. And then you have the mixed marriage, which is the marriage between a Catholic and a non-Catholic, but baptized Christian. And then you have the disparity of cult marriage, which is a marriage between a Catholic and a non-baptized
Christian
person.
Person.
Yes.
All right. So it
number
could
of
be
like a Muslim, traditionalist,
Muslim,
atheist, free thinker.
Okay.
So those are the category. But so for the mixed marriage and the disparity of cult marriage, you would definitely, for it to be valid, you would need what we call a canonical dispensation from the local ordinary for that marriage to proceed and for it to be considered valid.
Okay, so what happens when these procedures are not followed?
Then the marriage is not valid.
To the church?
Yes.
Oh, that's interesting. Okay, yes. So we'll take a short break now to know who the saint of the week is. Over to you, Mariana.
And we have Saint Magdalene the Pazzi. Saint Magdalene the Pazzi was born on the 2nd of April, 1566 in Florence, Italy. And she was the only daughter of an exceptionally wealthy and noble family. I know a lot of you want that money, but we cannot get it. From an early age, she exhibited a strong sense of religious vocation. Around the age of 8 or 9, Caterina began to deepen her prayer, often spending more than an hour at a time steeped in it. She learned to meditate and was especially drawn to meditate upon the Passion of Christ. At the age of 14, Caterina's father was made the Grand Duke of Cortona, and Caterina was boarded at the convent of St. John in Florence. During her 15-month stay with the sisters, her daily prayer often went on for hours at a time. She prayed in private so as not to draw attention to herself. She's not a hypocrite. Around the age of 15, her father undertook arrangements for her to be married. Be calming down now. But she explained to him that she could not do that because of her private vow to Jesus. In 1583, at the age of 16, she entered the Carmelite convent of St. Mary of the Angels in Florence, where she adopted a life of intense spirituality and reform. She picked that convent because the sisters received Holy Communion daily, which was uncommon at that time. Within her first year at the convent, she had a second ecstasy in the chapel while praying before the crucifix. During that ecstasy, the sisters heard her say to her beloved, "O love, you are neither known nor loved." Her prayer was leading her to a profound knowledge of her Savior, a knowledge that only mystical prayer could provide. Mary Magdalene de Pazzi was known for her mystical experiences and profound spiritual insights. Her vision and ecstasies were accompanied by a deep commitment to the reform of the Carmelite order, emphasizing strict adherence to the rule of Saint Teresa of Avila. She was instrumental in the renewal of the Carmelite reform movement in her region. Her life of prayer and penance was marked by frequent ill health and suffering. She died on the 25th of May, 1607, at the age of 41. Canonized in 1669, Saint Mary Magdalene de Pazzi is remembered for her deep mystical union with God and her contribution to the Carmelite reform. Her feast day is celebrated on the 25th of May every year, most definitely. Saint Magdalene de Pazzi, pray for us.
Thank you very much, Mariana, for that wonderful presentation. So if you're just joining us, we have been talking about a very important topic. Every Catholic must ask themselves before getting married, should I get married to a non-Catholic? And we have Father here that has been helping us to give us points, helping to give points on this particular topic. So Padre, moving on, who can get married to a Catholic?
Well, anybody can. Just like I said at the earlier part, the world is a global village. And because of human interaction, people work in different places, people go to different places, we meet people from various walks of life. So you cannot pigeonhole people into establishing relationships in a particular place and say you have to only be in a relationship with people of the same faith. So since that might be very difficult, though it's recommended, because we know that mixed marriages or disparity of cult marriages do have their challenges, their difficulties. So oftentimes we recommend that to be on the safe side, a Catholic should get married to a Catholic.
Okay.
But we also concede to the fact that most times that is not exactly what plays out. So oftentimes when the mixed marriage is about to take place, you did ask a question, if they don't follow the canonical form, what happens? And I said, yes, the marriage becomes invalid. Doesn't mean that it cannot be repaired by what we call convalidation. Because for every marriage that is not a Catholic marriage, so to say, is either a mixed marriage or a disparity of court marriage, you must need the dispensation. You must follow the canonical form. But when you are not dispensed from the canonical form and you still don't follow it, then there is an invalidity in that union. But that union can still be validated when you now decide to do the right thing, which is to return back to the church and have what we call a convalidation of that established union that is hitherto invalid.
Okay. So, Father, in a case where it's the lady that is the, what they call it, it's the lady that is the Catholic, right? And the man is the non-Catholic. So is there like a, you know, the African culture and, you know, giving men their respect, you know? So is there like a, okay, since I'm the woman and I'm the Catholic, so my marriage should take place in my husband's church and all of those. So should there be something like that?
Well, now, the challenge here with this is that that's why we actually recommend that Catholics get married to Catholics.
Okay.
We are Africans, and more importantly, we are Nigerians. And there is a culture, an understanding that permeates our culture from the south to the east, west, and north. So sometimes these issues can come up when the woman is a Catholic and the man is a non-Catholic, and the man insists. And then you hear statements like, a woman has no religion, especially in this part of the world, such that it is where the man says we should go, that's where we will go. But then, from the church's perspective, now the church, being the mother, believes that our faith should permeate our culture and elevate it. So the conditions or the principles that guide the church in her teachings does not segregate. It's not gender biased. It is the same rules apply to the man, the same rules will apply to the woman. So whether the woman is a Catholic or the non-Catholic, the same rules. So if the woman is Catholic, the man is non-Catholic, and they want to get married in the Catholic Church, they must obtain dispensation. They will go through the same process. If the man is the Catholic and the woman is the non-Catholic, exactly the same thing. But what now happens whereby there is some variation in power, in the sense that, okay, the man is this, and we know how we look at men in this part of the world. That's why there is always the church, especially in the Archdiocese of Lagos, there are laid down procedures. The couples need to present themselves to the priest. And those occasions of interviews and discussions form basis for some level of discernment and conversation. And when they begin to go through marriage course, some of these issues are also discussed. So the non-Catholic party now gets a proper understanding of why there is need for him to respect the desires, the wishes of the Catholic party. And then the Catholic party is also made to understand his or her responsibility in that union. Because for the dispensation to be obtained and given, then there are certain clauses. The Catholic party must pledge to remove every obstacle to his or her faith. Secondly, must also sign and agree to bring up the children that will come from the offspring, from the union in the practice of the Catholic faith. So that Catholic party has to accept and has to sign in the presence of two witnesses. Now, the non-Catholic party has to also be made aware of the obligations and responsibilities of the Catholic party. Now, perchance he does not accept or she does not accept, then, of course, dispensation cannot be obtained. And once dispensation cannot be obtained, we're back to square one. They can't get married in the church, or else the union becomes invalid.
Okay, Father, I'm going to ask this question, but before you answer the question, we're going to go on our KYF, our Know Your Faith break. So the question is, can a mixed marriage ever take place in a non-Catholic church? But before you answer, we're going to go on our KYF break. Over to you, Elefachi.
Hi Saints, you're welcome to this educating episode of Know Your Faith. I am Elefachi. We've been on the journey of uncovering the choirs of angels, and so far, we've seen that the 9 choirs of angels are divided into 3 groups. The first group are those closer to God, and they include the seraphim who worship God and proclaim His holiness, cherubim, guardians of wisdom, knowledge, and divine secrets. Thrones represent God's power and sovereignty, while in the second group we have heavenly beings who govern the universe and serve as administrators, called dominations. Then powers are spirits who protect the faithful and fight against evil spirits. And on this episode, we'll be looking at the third choir in the second group, virtues. Virtues, also called angelic virtues, are like our moral instruction teachers back then in primary school. They represent moral excellence, goodness, purity, and they show forth God's moral character. 4 things the angelic virtues can do for you. Number 1, they can inspire you to develop good habits and moral character, which will in turn help you become a better version of yourself. Number 2, virtues can also instill perseverance and resilience to overcome obstacles, stay focused, and achieve your goals. Number 3, when in search of purpose, virtues can help you discover your purpose and align it to your passion and values. Number 4, are you battling with low self-esteem? Implore the aid of the virtues. They will help you boost your confidence and embrace your uniqueness. You've seen that angelic virtues can help you in different ways. Is there something you need help with, or you're wondering if the virtues can help? Tell us in the comment section, and please subscribe, like, and share this video. And until next time, be bold, be Catholic.
Welcome back, Saints. Thank you very much, Elefachi, for that wonderful article of faith. Before we went on this break, we asked a question, and the question is, Father, the question is, can a mixed marriage ever take place in a non-Catholic church?
And the answer is, interestingly, yes.
Okay.
Yes, it can.
All right.
But of course, beyond just the dispensation that is taken, permission has to be granted, and the local ordinary has to give an approval for the marriage to take place in a non-Catholic church.
Okay. And
there are certain conditions. A Catholic witness has to also be present, and there must be some guarantee that the procedure for the marriage, even in the non-Catholic church, is followed.
Okay.
Because you can't, if it's a church whereby, I don't know what examples to give. Maybe the marriage formula is not recited.
Okay.
It's not said, and there's clearly ambiguity as to the acceptance of certain aspects of the fundamental Catholic teaching on marriage.
Okay.
For example, the indissolubility of marriage, the unity in marriage, procreation and all of that. Yeah. Then there is a bit of a question mark that might deter or make it impossible for the church to accept that marriage can take place in a non-Catholic church. But if all those conditions, for example, I am aware of a marriage that are taking place in an Anglican church, but then there was the presence of a Catholic witness that was there.
This Catholic witness
on the part of the church.
Priest or
yes, was a priest.
A person.
A priest. Okay. But then the Catholic witness must not necessarily be a priest.
Okay, must not necessarily.
Must not necessarily be a priest. But in this particular instance, it was a priest.
Okay.
And there was a lot of appeal that was made because at that instance, the girl was a non-Catholic,
Okay.
the boy is a Catholic.
Yeah.
And so the whole argument of want to show respect. Her parents were deacons or were top members in their church.
Yeah.
So they also wanted a situation where this would be done.
Yeah.
And so there was need to concede to that request. And so
Yeah.
there was the presence of the Catholic witness there. And then the marriage ceremonies went on smoothly. And there was no issue. And then afterwards,
The
they
girl
returned back.
became
Yeah. The girl wanted to. She wants to be Catholic.
Yeah.
And then they returned back to the sacraments in the Catholic Church.
Okay.
So their marriage was considered valid.
Valid.
Yes.
Okay, so hence a marriage takes place, a mixed marriage takes place in a non-Catholic church. Sorry. Does that still make it a Catholic marriage?
No, it's mixed marriage.
It's a mixed marriage.
Yes.
So a mixed marriage is not particularly a Catholic marriage.
Obviously.
Okay. All right. So are there consequences if someone decides to leave the church because of marriage?
Yes, there are consequences.
Okay.
There are consequences. In fact, the word consequence, like you are going to flog the person or something.
Okay.
Not necessarily, but there are consequences.
Yeah.
This becomes like some form of formal defection of the faith.
All right.
Whoever has left the church
Yeah.
because of marriage has technically defected from the faith.
Yeah.
Now, if the person desires to return,
Yeah.
of course, by leaving, there is a bit of a break.
Yeah.
And so there are certain requirements that you would need to satisfy to return. But until then,
Yeah.
there are certain things you can't receive in the church. For example, the sacraments. You can no longer receive communion.
Yeah.
You no longer be able to go for confession, basically, until you repair that supposed break. You repair that by returning back, having confession, reconciling yourself back to the church, and of course, removing every obstacle to you defecting the faith again. Sometimes as a result of a lack of understanding, sometimes it is pressure from the union,
Yeah.
depending on who has the economic and the political power
Yeah.
in the marriage.
marriage,
Sometimes those dynamics too come about. And so that can also affect why whoever leaves. But oftentimes we have also seen that they love to return.
Yeah.
But when they return, then they have to satisfy certain conditions for them to come back to the reception of the sacraments. And if their marriage did not take place in the Catholic Church,
Yeah.
then definitely they have to go through what we have called convalidation
Okay.
of that union. Because the previous union, we were not part of it. So, or the union, it's not like they're having a second marriage, but
Yeah.
a convalidation. Want to repair that, which we are not so sure of what happened.
Yeah.
So let's just put you guys through, instruct you in our way, and be sure that you have the right understanding of what you are going into.
All right. So further rounding up, you said something about repairing, having to come back to the church. So what are the procedures to be taken for someone that has left the church because of marriage that wants to return? What are these procedures? What's the procedure of repair?
Okay, well, not particularly cumbersome.
Okay.
You approach the parish,
Yeah.
get to the parish, you meet with the priest and have a conversation and let the priest know what you desire.
Yeah.
And the priest will interview you and find out exactly what your current situation is. Sometimes the requirements vary based on the complexities of what has happened. But if we take it broadly, that, okay, it's a marriage that took place without the canonical form and without dispensation, and now they are coming back to the faith. So the first thing will obviously be to reconcile yourself as well spiritually to God. If you are a Catholic, then you need to have confession, examination of conscience, and all of that. Then, of course, you need a convalidation of that marriage. Okay. So you probably need to have marriage course and be instructed, and then, of course, then some bit of marriage,
Okay.
in the Catholic, in the church, yes.
Church, yeah.
And then you are received back into the faith.
Okay.
You are received back to the faith, because like I said, there has been some form of defection. So you get to be received back to the faith, depending on what level again in the church you are. If it was just baptism you've had, and you are returning to the church, you want to receive communion, you want to be confirmed, then you just go through all the rite of Christian initiation for adults and all those, and then you are accepted back in the faith.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's been an enlightening session, and I know that you've learned something new. Thank you very much, Father, for gracing our invitation, and thank you so much for sharing from your knowledge of wealth, and it's been a wonderful session, really. It's been enlightening. You've actually broken down to pieces this topic. Thank you so much. So there you have it, saints. Please do well to write down your comments if you have any, or any question at all. Please write it down in our comment section at Dominican Media, and also follow us on our social media platforms, on our YouTube channel at Dominican Media. Please do well to follow us on our social media platforms at CFF on TV. I remain your ever delightful host, Bivan Tessie, and until next time, keep being saints in jeans and shirts.